So just like any alphabet, as you can see here, there are letters. Just like we have A, B, C, D, E in English, we have alif, ba, ta, tha, and so on in Arabic. And just like in English, every letter has a name and a sound, the Arabic letters are the same. Every one of the letters has a specific name, and each one of the Arabic letters also has a specific sound. And it's very important to learn all the proper names for the Arabic letters and to learn all of the proper sounds for the Arabic letters so that when we recite the Quran, it is done with proper pronunciation. For example, the first letter of the Arabic alphabet, as you see here on the right in red, is this mark here, the straight line. This is the actual letter itself. The name of this letter is Alif. Or we can also say that the name of this letter is also the Hamza, but for our purposes now, we'll just say Alif. And the sound of the letter is A, like this sound, the consonant sound of the letter A in English. As you know, in English, A is both a vowel and a consonant. Its consonant sound is A. So the Alif has a name. Its name is Alif, and the sound is A. So we are going to go through each one of the letters of the Arabic alphabet, and we are going to learn their proper names and also the proper pronunciation of each letter. So the first letter of the Arabic alphabet is this red, as you see here. So the letters will be in red, the names you will see in blue, and the pronunciation you will see in green. So this right here is the letter that you see right here. The sound is in green, A, and the name is Alif. Alif is the first letter. The second letter of the Arabic alphabet is what you see here in red. The name is Ba, and it is important that we learn to say the names properly as well with the proper accent, because if we say the names with the proper accent, then when we start reading and reciting the Quran, we will recite it with the proper accent. So this should be Ba, not Ba, not Ba. We should say it with the proper accent. It should be Ba. And the sound of the letter is like the letter B in English, B. The next letter is similar to the Ba. In its shape, it's similar, but as the Ba has one dot underneath, this has two dots on top. This is called Ta, and the sound is T. This is Ta. The sound is T. It's not exactly like the T in English. The T in English is very sharp, T, but the Ta in Arabic is T. And we'll learn this as we go along and the future exercises. The next letter looks similar to the Ba and the Ta, however, it has three dots. And this is called Tha. And here we have the sound as, we've written it as T with two H's because we want to distinguish between other letters that may also be written as TH in English, but they are pronounced differently. So this is like the TH in the words think, thought, thorough, and so on. The sound is th, and the letter name is Tha. The next letter has a different shape. As you see here in red, the name is Jim, and the sound is like the J in English, J. The name is Jim, and the sound is J. The next letter looks similar to the Jim, but it does not have the dot. And this is called Ha. Now we have the sound of the letter written as the letter H, and we have it in parentheses because there is another letter that sounds like the H in English, but it's a soft H. And this is what we can call a hard H. This sound is produced by constricting the throat muscles to only allow a little bit of air through at a time, increasing the pressure in the throat. So we say ha. This is not ha. See, when we say ha, like the English H, that sound comes from the chest. This ha is constricted here in the throat. You can explain this better by giving the example of in the winter time when your hands are cold and you want to warm your hands, you put your hands in front of your mouth and you make the sound to warm your hands. Or when you want to put some steam on a glass window, you get close to the glass and you make this sound. You say, you go, this is the sound. This is ha, and the sound is. The next letter looks similar to the ha, but it has one dot, and the dot is on top of the letter. And the name is kha. It's very important to say this letter with the correct accent, to say kha, as will be understood later. And the sound is the sound we sometimes might make if we're trying to clear our throats, to explain it that way. This letter is kha, and the sound is. Next, we have this letter here, as you see in red, and the name of this letter is dal. See, this is dal, and the sound is similar to the D in English. This is d, d. The letter is dal, and the sound is d. The next letter looks similar to the dal, but it has a dot on top, and the name of this is dhal, and the sound of the letter is similar to the th in the word the, or there, or therefore, or this. So the name is dhal, and the sound is th, like the th in the word the. Our next letter is this, as you see in red, and the name is ra. So we have to make sure we say this correctly. This is ra, and the sound is r. Similar to the R in English, but a little bit heavier, a little bit thicker, somewhere in between the R in English and the hard R in Spanish. Next, we have a letter that looks similar to the Ra, but has one dot on top of it, and this is called za, and the sound is just the same as the letter Z in English. So the name is za, and the sound is z. Next, we have this letter in red, and the name is Seen. Just as you see spelled, the name is Seen, and its pronunciation is similar to the S in English. S. Very simple. The next letter is shaped like the Seen, but it has 3 dots. And this is called Sheen. And the sound of the letter is sh, just like the SH in English. The name is Sheen, and the sound is sh. Our next letter is, as you see in red, and this is called Sad. And we have the S in parentheses because it might be mistaken for the Seen, which, as you remember, the sound was S. But the sound of this letter is sometimes a little hard to hear until we practice listening to the reading of the Quran. And sometimes it's a little hard to pronounce, but as we learn how to use it with vowels, then the sound of the letter is going to become more pronounced, and you'll see the difference between the Seen and the Sad. So we can say that the sound of the Sad is sh, sh, sh. Seen is s, Sad is sh, almost like a little bit of a whistle. The next letter looks similar to the Sad, and it is called Bod, ba. So there is no English equivalent to this letter, and this is one of the letters that requires a little bit of practice in order to pronounce properly, but it is very important that we learn how to pronounce this because it's one of the letters that is repeated in Surah Al-Fatiha, which we recite in our prayers. So we have to be able to pronounce this properly. This is called Bod, Bod. The way that we can pronounce this letter is that we can rest our tongue either on the right cheek or on the left cheek, ba, bod, or ba. Or once you get very good at it, you can widen the tongue and say ba, bod, bod. But it's easier if you rest it on one or the other cheek and say ba, ba, bod. So as we start reading the Quran and using this in words, you'll see how to pronounce it better, inshallah. Our next letter is, as you see in red, and this is pronounced fa, fa. And we have the T in parentheses because this is similar to the ta, but it is what we call more full. So when we say the ta, T. Ta. Very simply, our tongue is behind our teeth. T. But when we say the ta, our mouth comes together and the tongue fills our mouth. So we say like this. Ta. Ta. Ta is the letter we learned earlier. This is pa. So we have to remember to say pa. Our next letter looks similar to the pa, but it has one dot. And this is called va. Va. This is similar to the dal in its sound, but it's more full. Just like the ta is a fuller version of the ta, the va is a fuller version of the. And this will become more pronounced when we start using it with vowels, and you'll see how the vowels which are actually on this letter will be different than the. So this is va. Our next letter is one of those letters that takes some time to practice. As you see it here in red, the name is Ain, and we have it with an apostrophe and the A. Now, sometimes we might mistake this pronunciation for the pronunciation of the alif. The alif is A. This is A. The way that we can understand the difference between these two letters is that when we say the alif, when we say A, if you pay attention, you say A, the throat completely closes so that the air is stopped from coming out. And then you make the sound when you open the throat and the air comes out. See, when you say ah, you have to first hold your breath a little bit to say ah. Your throat closes completely, and then you say, when you open it, you make the sound ah. Now, when we say the ayn, we bring the throat close to closing, but we don't completely close it. We constrict the throat. We make the opening small, but we don't completely close it, and then we open it to say the ayn. Ah, ah. So we say ayn, and the sound is ah. And this will take some time to practice, but inshallah, very soon you're going to be saying these letters very correctly and very nicely, inshallah. Our next letter looks similar to the ayn, but it has one dot on top of it, and this is called ghain. This is called ghain, and the sound is gh, gh, gh. So this will also take some time to practice. It's not like the kha. Kha is different. Kha is very sharp. This is gh. It's a little bit softer. Our next letter, as you see here in red, is called fa, and this is pronounced exactly like the letter F in English. The name is fa, and the sound is f, just like the F in English. The next letter is a little bit similar to the fa in its shape, but it has a more curved base, a more rounded base, and this is called qaf, qaf, and the sound is qa. We have to make sure that when we say this letter, especially when we're reading the Quran and we're reading certain phrases and verses of the Quran in our prayers, that we make a difference between this and the one that's going to come after it. This is qa. It's very sharp. And the way that we pronounce this is that it comes from back here. Qa. Qa. Just above the back of the throat. Qaf. When we explain this, one of the ways that you can explain is that if you try to imitate the sound that a crow makes, this is the sound that the crow makes. The animal says caw, caw. So we say qaf. The name is qaf. The sound is qa. Our next letter sounds similar, but it's a little bit different. This is, as you see here in red, the name is in blue. This is kaf. And this letter is pronounced exactly the same as the letter K in English. The name is kaf, and the pronunciation of the letter is k. The sound is k. We'd like to go back just one letter. This is q, q. And this letter is k. So we have to make sure we pronounce these two letters differently, very clearly. The next letter is, as you see here in red, that is the shape. And the name of the letter is lam. And the sound of the letter is just like the L in English, l, l. So the name is Lam and the sound is L. Next we have this letter here. The name is Meme and the sound is just like the letter M in English. Our next letter is, as you see here, this rounded base with one dot. This is called Noon. Noon. And the sound of the letter is just like the N in English. N. Our next letter is, as you see in red, this is called Wow. And the sound is just like the W in English. The name is Wow. And the sound is W, just like the W in English. Our next letter, as you see here, is called Ha. And if you remember, one of the letters that we learned at the beginning of the alphabet is also spelled the same in English. And we had that also written as a H, but we put that H in parentheses. We want to make sure that we pronounce that one as Ha, a very thick H. This is Ha, just like the H in English, like his, her, have, how. This is a very soft H, which the air just comes out from the chest very easily. So the name is Ha, and the sound is very easy. Our next letter is Hamza. Now, sometimes some alphabets, Arabic alphabets, when you see them written, they'll have the alif and the Hamza written next to each other because the sound, as far as the consonant, is the same. So this is, so in the Quran, when sometimes you'll see an alif written with a vowel and it won't have the Hamza on it depending on which print it is. This is why we put it separately, because when you read different prints of the Quran, you'll need to know that the two of them have the same consonant sound. So this is why we put the two separately in the alphabet here. This is called Hamza. And the sound of the Hamza is A, just like the alif. The consonant sound of the Hamza is A. And then we have the last letter of the Arabic alphabet. You see the shape there in red. In blue is the name. It's called Ya. And the sound is just like the letter Y in English, the consonant sound of the Y, which is Y, Y. So this is the Arabic alphabet. And we'll go back to the beginning as we see here. We will point to the letters and we'll see each one of them, how it's pronounced. So we'll start from the beginning. Alif, Ba, Ta, Tha, Jim, Ha, Kha, Dal, Dhal, Ra, Za, Sin, Shin, Sad, Dad, Ta, Dha, Ain, Ghain, Fa, Qaf, Kaf, Lam, Mim, Noon, Waw, Ha, Hamza, Ya. So this is the Arabic.